Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Nasa Strat. Today on the channel, we'll be learning how to make this trendy skirt with side gathers. So if it's something you're interested in, keep watching. Give this video a thumbs up. If you're yet to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe and let's get right into this. So for this, I'll be working with 3 yards of fabric. So you'll be needing at least 3 yards of fabric. Okay, so if you're using an Ankara for this, you'll be needing 4 yards. Okay, because I'm using a crepe, the length is by 60. I'll be using 3 yards. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to draft on our paper. We'll just go ahead and mark this point here as my center front since this is not folded. Then at the top, I'm going to mark 1/2 of an inch, which will serve as my joining allowance when I'm attaching my band to my skirt. Okay, so my measurements will come after the line. Now I'm placing my tape 2 inches outward, which is going to be for my band. So if you want your band to be 1.5 inches, place 1.5 inches on that line. That's a 1/2 of an inch line. Go ahead and mark your hip point and then the full length of the skirt you want to work with. Now note that you can make your skirt to be short or you can make it to be long. Now since I'm drafting on a paper, the length didn't get up to what I want, so later on I'm going to be adding 2 inches extra to the length, which will serve as my hemming allowance at that point. Okay, so I just drew lines at that point and I'm going to label them. This is the waist, this is the hip, and here we have the full length. Now on the waistline, I'll go on and take quarter of my waist measurement. I'll mark it down. Then I'm going to add 1.5 inches for seam allowance, right? Then I'll repeat the same thing on the hip line. I'll take quarter of my round hip and then I will add 1.5 inches to that. Then I will connect what I have there together. Now, if you're using an Ankara, knowing that you're going to be lining this up, if you are going to use a lining for your skirt, you want to use 2 inches instead. Now, I'm going to take what I have at the hip and I will replicate it at the full length of the skirt. So the full length of the skirt is not going to be fitted. So you take the measurement you have at the waist, the hip, sorry, and replicate it at the full length. Then I'm using my rule to just connect those points I've made together so you can see what we have here like this. So we just have a skirt, a dartless skirt in this case. Now to get our curve from the hip area, you can go up from the hip area or you can come down from the waist area. Okay, whatever you choose. So I'll be coming down from my waist area by 3 inches and I will make a mark there. Now note that you can decide to go up for yours or come down more. Then from the center front, I will come in by 3.5 inches, meaning I'm going to have 7 inches by the time I open this up. So remember, the center front is usually folded, so you're going to have 7 inches. I'm going to have 7 inches. Okay, so for yours you can use 4 inches, you can use 3 inches, depending on how wide you want the front to be. Okay, so what I'll do now, I'll just use my free hand to just make dotted lines, connecting that line at the bottom to the one by the side. Okay, so I've done that and I will retrace this line to make it both. Okay, so you want to trace make dotted lines firstly so you can get this accurately. So you can see what I have there. I have what I need for this. So this is what this is going to look like. We'll just go ahead to cut it out. This is what we have after we finished. So this is what it is going to look like. Now you want to indicate the side of your skirt. So the part going towards the where you're going to be stitching is not where you should be marking. You should be marking the other side you'll be joining to the back. So the next thing we'll do is to cut this out on our fabric. I'm going to start by cutting out my front piece. I'll go ahead and fold my fabric into two. So I'm trying as much as possible to manage the fabric I have. Okay, remember I said 3 yards. So if you want your clothes to be longer, you'll be needing more than that. So what I did was to just place my pattern on a folded piece. So remember the front has like a closed end. So I folded that in and I'm going to pin it down. So you'll note that I have some allowances at the bottom. That's because, like I said earlier, I will be adding 2 inches to the bottom. I want to make up for the length and then my hemming allowance. Okay, so at the bottom I will just go ahead and mark 2 inches, which will serve as the allowance I need. So if you want to add extra inches to yours, like I said, it depends on the length you're trying to achieve for your skirt. You go ahead and just mark it down. All right, then by the side I'm going to be adding half of an inch by the side. Now, this half of an inch will serve as the joining allowance. Remember, the ruffle part or the gathers part will be coming in later on. So I just went on to mark that and I'll just go on to cut that out, ensuring I add half of an inch around the area I'll be joining my gathers to. And then I'll just follow exactly what I have on the other end of the paper. So you can see we have our front piece. This is what it looks like. I just went on to mark the wrong side of my fabric. Now I'm folding up another piece for the back, right? So the difference between the front and the back is that this is going to have a zip. So we're going to have a zip for this so we can easily wear this. So for my zip allowance, I will be using 1 inch for this. Now on this part too, if you're using an ankara or if you intend lining your skirt, you need to add 1.5 2 inches to your zip allowance so that by the time you turn this out with your lining, it will not be too small for you to stitch on. Okay, so you need to add more inches. So take note if you're using a lining for your skirt. So because I'm not going to line this, I'm just using 1 inch and I'm placing the pattern I have from the back, sorry, the front, right after that line, and then I will just cut it out. So like I said, the difference between what we have in front and in back and at the back is just our zip allowance. Okay, so after doing that, I will just go ahead and then open up this because this is folded. We don't need the back to be folded. We'll be adding a zipper to this. So I've done that and this is what we have for our piece. So I'm going to take off my pattern paper. So this is what this looks like. So opened up, we have the front looking this way, so you can see how it looks. Okay, it has like an awkward look right now because we've done nothing to it. By the time we stitch, you'll see how beautiful this will turn out. So I'll keep this aside and then we'll work on our ruffle piece. Now to do this, okay, you need to take note of what you have for this. So right at the bottom of this, take the measurements you have there and divide them into segments. So mine, I got 8.5 inches and I just divided what I have there by 1.5. So I'm sharing them 1.5 difference. So I'm just going to mark that throughout. So you note that I'm taking this measurement from the bottom, not from the top. Okay, and then I will just make lines around that area towards the top part of my paper, right? You want to ensure that you're marking this accurately. So just watch how I'm doing this. I'll just go ahead and just make lines going towards the top. So after doing that, this is what we have. I'll just label them um one, two to the number I have here. So you will notice that I actually took off the S I wrote on the other side. I wrote it by the side. Now this is because this other side will be caught on a fold, because that is the part that joins to the back. It will have no joining whatsoever. So I've labeled this 1 to 5, and I'm just going on with my scissors to just cut them out into their different piece. Okay, so as you know, we're going to be using the slash and spread method to get our gathers in this case. So we're going to be slashing this and then spreading them on our fabric to give us a larger quantity for us to gather around the area where it's needed. So this is what we have after I finish doing that. I have 5 pieces of this. So what I'm going to do next is to fold my fabric. Now you can fold your fabric to whatever length you want it to be, depending on how full you want your gathers to appear at the end of the day. Now you'll notice that with some of the clothes, some of them come in gowns, some of them are skirts, some of them are full while some are scanty. Simply depends on how you want it to appear. Simply your preference or your choice in this case. So I just folded this up. Okay, what I'll be doing is to place my pattern on top of it. Right now, the piece you're placing on top of it, note that the folded end, the first piece that's going to stay there is the piece numbered 5. That's where you labeled the S. So that is where we're going to place there. Remember I said it's not going to have any joining. This the gathers extends to the back part of this. So you want to ensure that you place your number 5 at that point. All right. So I'll just go on and then pin it down, right? And we'll repeat the same process for the other one. Now this is going to be, I'm using 6 inches difference for mine. So I'm spacing them by 6 inches. Now, like I said, if you want your gathers to be fuller, you can use more. If you don't want it to be so full, you can use less. So just ensure you do something that makes you happy and then looks nice at the end of the day. So this is going to have the same length. I'm just ensuring that I have my length placed down. So I just mark that down, and then I will just go on and place these by 6 inches difference, and I will just place them down, pin them to the various points where they should be. Okay. All right. So I finished placing them down. Now remember, for the skirt we added 2 inches. So I'm going to also add that 2 inches to the length of this piece. You don't want one to be up and the other to be down. So they're going to be matching perfectly at the same allowance. Then at the top, I will just trace this out, adding half of an inch to the top, which will serve as the joining allowance to the skirt. So remember, we have half of an inch for the skirt for joining allowance. You're going to also add that to the skirt, the gathers piece. Okay, you want them to be matching perfectly. So I went ahead to cut out 2 of that, and I'm just marking the wrong side of my fabric, and I will keep this aside for now. So the next thing we want to do is to start working on our piece. I'm going to place this right side to right side. So I'll place the right side of my front piece down, and then bring the those of my back piece, place them right side facing the right side of my front piece, and I'll just align them, go ahead and stitch it down. Remember, I added 1.5 inches for my seam allowance, so I will use that to stitch it down on both sides. Okay, then on the zip allowance area for the back, we are going to stitch this down also. But before doing that, we're going to indicate where we want our zip to end. It's important because we're not going to close up this part everywhere. It's not going to be closed. We're going to have our zip sitting somewhere. So placing my tape 2 inches outward, okay, ensuring to take note of my band at the top, I just brought it down by how much I want my zip to sit, and then I'll go ahead and stitch it. So this is what I have after I finished. I've stitched the side, as you can see. I've joined them together, all right, on that end. And After doing that, I also went ahead to join, close the back. You can see the opening I have at the top for my zip. All right. So the next thing we is want to work on our gather space. Now, from the video in the beginning of this tutorial, it didn't get to, it wasn't so long. Now, what you should know that as a fashion designer, as somebody who makes your own clothes, you can just tweak some styles. So for me, I decided to extend my gathers a little bit more. So instead of it just being short, the way it came from the video from the hip area upwards, I just took it down by 15 inches instead because I wanted it to just give a little bit of impression, and I just made a notch at that point, and I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So on the left side is going to be 15 inches. That's where my gathers is going to end. On the right side, the same thing. So if you're following my pattern, go ahead and make notches there. But if not, just stop at your hip point, all right? Then the next thing I'll do is to bring in the piece for my gathers, and I will just place the center point which I've marked to the joining part of my skirt. Okay, so note that while you're stitching this down, now if you want your the ruffles to be bolder, you're just going to use your free hand to pleat this, because that's what I'll be doing. But if not, go ahead and run a loose stitch. So you just stitch straight up from the starting of the skirt, that's the ends of the skirt, to where you made your notch. Then after that point, going towards the waist area, just go ahead and make your gathers at that point. All right, so this is what I have after I finish. You can see I've done it on both sides, so you can see how mine looks like. Okay, I hope you give my method a try. Okay, just extend your gathers a little bit more. Might not be as long as mine. You can just make it 10 inches or 13 inches or thereabout. So this is what we have for this. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to just go ahead and hem the edges of my skirt. Then after that, I will fix my band. So I've gone ahead to cut out this piece for my band. Remember, I said I want it to be 2 inches. So I cut out a band that measures 5 inches of width, and the length is what I have around the waist. I just iron half of an inch on both sides. Okay, so what I'll do is to place this from the wrong side of my piece, my skirt piece. Go ahead and stitch it up, and then turn it over to the right side and close down that. So this is what I have after I finished. Our skirt is coming in together gradually. You can see how pretty this looks. So I've gone ahead to hem, and I've also fixed my band. Okay, so the next thing, the last thing for this is to go ahead and fix our zip to this. So you need to fix your zip to keep it in place. All right, and that is all for this video. So ensure to subscribe to the channel if you're here to subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think about this video, and if you'll be trying to make the skirt the way I did mine. Okay, if you've not liked the video, please like, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.